Hello. I'm Henry, and I like history. Let's see what story we'll be reading tonight. There are foods that disappear because they fail, and there are foods that disappear because they refuse to change. Tonight's story is about a cheese that survived empires, superstition, and centuries of hard living, but not modern law. To understand Casu Marzu, you must first understand Sardinia. This is a land shaped by stone, wind, sheep, and isolation. For centuries, Sardinian shepherds lived far from towns, sometimes gone for weeks at a time, moving flocks through hills where refrigeration, medicine, and markets did not exist. Food was not curated, it was endured, and sometimes discovered. The origin of Casu Marzu is not ceremonial, it is accidental. Shepherds returned to their pecorino, sheep's milk cheese, only to find it infested with maggots. By every modern standard, it was spoiled. But hunger makes people curious. They tasted it, and instead of rot, they found transformation. The cheese had become soft, creamy, and fiercely strong. Spicy, sharp, and unforgettable. What looked ruined was in fact reborn. What began as accident became tradition. Over time, shepherds learned how to make Casu Marzu deliberately. They began with pecorino sardo, piercing holes in the rind to attract cheese flies, Biophila casei. The flies laid their eggs, the larvae hatched. As the maggots burrowed through the cheese, their digestion broke down proteins and fats, turning the interior into a pungent paste. This process wasn't rushed, it wasn't measured, it was watched. To outsiders, the maggots were the horror. To Sardinians, they were the proof. If the maggots were alive, wriggling, the cheese was fresh, potent, and safe to eat. If they stopped moving, the cheese was discarded. Life meant quality. Death meant danger. This was not recklessness. It was knowledge, passed down through generations who trusted observation more than regulation. Casu Marzu was never just chemistry. Shepherds believed certain conditions enhanced the transformation. A warm Sirocco wind, blowing in from Africa, was said to help the cheese work its magic. The right air, the right heat, the right moment. This was food made in conversation with nature, not control over it. Some believed the cheese carried power. Others said it stirred desire. Many described the experience as overwhelming, a flavor so intense it lingered for hours. This was not casual eating. It was ritual. Casu Marzu was never eaten alone. It was served with pane carasau, Sardinia's thin, crackling flatbread. It was paired with canonau wine, dark and strong. The maggots stayed. Some diners covered the cheese to keep the larvae from jumping. Others chilled it briefly to slow them down. Most simply ate it as it was, not to prove bravery, but because that was how it had always been done. This practice was not hidden in history. Roman writers noticed it. Pliny the Elder wrote extensively about cheese, insects, and fermentation, describing worms in food as part of natural transformation. Aristotle observed similar practices, viewing larvae as nourishment rather than corruption. To ancient observers, decay was not failure, it was process. Sardinians still point to these texts to remind outsiders that Casu Marzu is not novelty, but heritage, dating back to when the island was a Roman province. Modern Europe did not inherit Rome's tolerance. By the mid-20th century, food safety laws tightened. Live larvae were no longer viewed as transformation, but as threat. Casu Marzu was banned under European Union hygiene laws due to the risk of intestinal injury. From the state's perspective, it was no longer food. From Sardinia's perspective, it was identity being outlawed. The ban did not end Casu Marzu. It forced it into kitchens, into private exchanges, into whispered sales at high prices. Illegal, but alive. A food preserved not by permission, but by memory.
Casu Marzu is the most extreme example, but not the only one. In the United States, more than a dozen cheeses have been banned or restricted, mostly raw milk varieties, because they resist industrial standardization. In nearly every case, the story is the same. Ancient food does not fit modern systems, and modern systems do not easily forgive tradition. To Sardinian shepherds, Casu Marzu was never dangerous. It was familiar. It wasn't gross. It was inherited. A cheese born from accident, refined by observation, and defended by culture. Some foods survive because they change. Others survive because people refuse to let them disappear. This was one of those. Thank you for reading with me tonight. I'm Henry, and I'll see you next time.